activities run, okay, speed, and so forth. It is in this sense that we call nominalization as metonymically based, okay, phenomena. So here we're talking about things metonymically or intimately connected to these activities, like agent, patient. Okay, if there is an activity, there is an agent who executes that activity. Okay, if there is a transitive activity, maybe there's some object involved. Right? If there's an activity, there might be some instrument associated with it very closely, as in the case of cleaner, maybe location as well, if you're talking about eating, as in the case of dining, okay? Diner. But there are also forms like villager, Londoner. Life means prisoners who are sentenced to life. Okay. Rear ender, you know what the rear ender is? Rear end is here, right? It's a collision, automobile collision. Somebody hits you behind your car. So it's a rear ender. Now, these are nominal based, right? Village, London, life, rear end. These are all nouns. But we are using same suffix er, and meaning-wise too. The villager is referring to somebody associated with a village, right? Londoner, somebody who is closely associated with London, and so on and so forth, right? So this is also similar in meaning to the first one. Okay? So that things that are intimately connected to this location, entity, state of affairs, like a rear ending. So these are, again, metonymically based derivation. But the point is, these are all based on nominal forms. So nominalization applies not only to verbs, but also to nominal. Right? So these are verbal-based lexical nominalization, and these are nominal-based lexical nominalization. Nominal-based nominalization very popular, productive as well, like football, YouTuber, mover, Wall Streeter, and all these things. Okay? Very many new forms are created almost every day. So nouns produce noun, as in the case of piano, pianist, neighbor, neighborhood. So new nominal structures can be derived from not only verb roots, but also nominal roots as well. So our first lesson, okay, all these definitions that you see are incorrect, right? Because they say things like noun derived from a member of another lexical category, excluding noun. Why? Why not villagers and Londoner are not nominalization? The same thing is said by Thomas Paine in a clear manner. Nominalization derives noun from verb. That's false, right? The same can be made, okay? So, the current definition ignore, exclude, and base nominalization, okay, which share both morphology, and also meaning. Okay, the meaning is determined by the input structure. If it's a noun, it's something that is associated with that noun. If it's a verb, something that is associated with the verbal activity. That's the only difference here. So nominalization should be understood not in terms of inputs, but in terms of output. Okay. All the processes that produce new nominal forms with new denotations, that's nominalization. Okay, regardless of input. So this is my definition. Okay, so nominalization and metonymification grammatical derivation process. study constructions that denote things, okay, both abstract, such as proposition fact, and concrete like event participants, such as agent, patient, instrument, location. Right? Metonymy is often characterized as a figurative speech used for literary effect, but metonymy, along with metaphors, are used very, very widely in daily language. Do I have okay, so this is an ordinary metonymy. This is not the grammatical process. Okay, you're using a glass to point to something that is contained in the glass, right? So by naming a container, something closely associated with it, namely its content, is referred. It can refer to any of these things, like red wine, orange juice, and precise denotation is determined by the context. Okay? So if you're talking about the benefits of red wine, and if somebody said, drink a glass a day, he or she is likely to be referring to red wine rather than orange juice. Okay? You try to give interpretations that are consistent with the context. Okay? So precisely what the speaker is intending to, what he expects the hearer to understand, is determined by the context. So we call this lexical nominalization because they are nouns, okay, that are stored permanently in the mental lexicon in your head. Okay. In addition, we'll be talking about verbal-based grammatical nominalization, such as who gets there first, okay? Define the truth, or choose which you like, which you like. These are not words for one thing, right? These are phrases. So they are beyond the word classification, such as noun and adjective. They are grammatical structures. Who gets there first also denotes a thing, in this case person, metonymic to the activity of getting there first, presumably an agent, okay, who gets there first. So we're referring to someone who gets there first. And this is thing, which is associated with the state of affairs of what you're liking. The object of liking is intended here. Okay. So again, here we see the metonymic relationship between the form and the meaning. Okay. And they are denoting and referring to things, please. Okay. These are not clauses, they do not predicate, they do not assert, they are not sentences. They are referring to things, okay? But these are so-called non-syntactic structures. They are not words, they are nouns formation. That is, you utter these and then they disappear. You don't store these things, because these things can be produced infinitely. Okay? There's no limit. You cannot memorize all these expressions. Okay? You can choose which you like, throw away which you don't like, and all. You can create all these things. Okay? One after another. You cannot memorize these things. Okay? And you would understand these new expressions, okay, that you never heard of before. Right? So, what are known as relative clauses are no more than a modification use of these grammatical nominalization. Okay? You learn this as a relative clause. A man who gets there first determines the truth, right? But this is not a relative clause, it is a nominalization that is used up there. You are using a nominalization as a modifier. So it's a mere use of one particular grammatical structure as a modifier. The same here. You can choose a drawing which you like. Okay? I use the same structure which you like as a modifier. And that's is used as an NPU. It's a head of a noun phrase. Okay? It's a head of a noun phrase. It's an object. And this is subject. This whole thing is subject. Okay? Heading a subject noun phrase, heading an object noun phrase. You can choose this. Okay? Instead of this, you just have it with nominal structure. So there are no independent structures like relative clauses. Okay? Those structures that you learn in high school as relative clauses, they are no more than a modification use of grammatical nominalization of one type. I don't go into detail today. So we argue for grammatical, nominal-based grammatical nominalization. Okay? But this is a basic reading that I'd like you to read if you're interested in what nominalization is all about. Okay? It only has 150 pages, so you can read it very quickly.
150 pages, you can read it very quickly.
Okay, let's look at Amami Ryukyuan, which is spoken in this small island. Okay, it is China Sea. We are somewhere here. Oh, sorry, it's somewhere here. Where? Or it's Saigon. So we're very close. Maybe closer than going to Tokyo. Or about the same. But anyway, this is the Ryukyuan archipelago. Okay. And there are different dialects of Ryukyuan spoken here. Okay. In this language, if you want to say something like the one standing there, you say Amaji Tachunga. This is nominative marker. And our child is the Wakan form. By looking at this thing, we observe the two things. Okay. Nominalize, what appears to be nominalizer may be used repeatedly to form more complex marking. Okay. Na and nu, and then reintroduce it n again. This is not well established, 100% established. Some people don't like it, many people accept it. Okay. It's not really well established as well established as in 1 or 2. So this is one observation. The other observation is that what looks like a nominalizer n occurs in the genitive or possessive form. So we are looking at this second question now. Okay. This connection between nominalizer and what looks like a genitive construction are much more similar than what we observed already here. So I can say tachunga and tachunuga, tachununga, and I can say wakando and wakanundo and nun. Okay, so we have the same morphology used for verbal-based nominalization here and so-called genitive. Why is it? What do these two constructions have to do? But morphology tells us they are maybe of the same kind of structure. Maybe we have been mistaken to analyze so-called genitives as different construction than nominalization. So this suggests that we analyze what we call genitives as nominal-based nominalization, in this case first person. Plural form. Okay. So this is similar to verbal-based one, like speaker, okay, tachu is a standing form, and this is similar to Londoner because we are basing nominalization on nominal elements. Okay, so this is a very radical proposal which you may not like. If you don't like it, that's fine, but you must tell me why they use the same morphology if they are two different things. So again, meaning-wise, they are consistent. What is the metonymic to the state of affairs of standing there, and what is the metonymic to us? Okay. Something we are related to very closely. consider the range of meaning of an expression like my hospital or the Vietnamese version. This goes well beyond the notion of possession, right? In the case of my hospital, it's likely you don't own this hospital. Likely to be the hospital I'm designed or I'm commuting to as a cleaner or as a patient. This is my hospital, yours is there. Go out there and I'm going to the same in the Vietnamese expression, I hope, right? So the notion of possession is very, very narrow, okay? And it doesn't do the justice to the variety of meaning it may allow you to have. Okay. So the notion of possession is just one typical relationship, metonymic relationship that this kind of form offers. Okay, there are other indications than the Amami indication that in many languages they use the same morpheme for genitive. Madhav's, I'm reading Madhav's letter or Madhav's writing, or I'm reading what he gave me. This is verbal based, nominal based, same marking. Morphology tells you that these two constructions are of the same type. In this language, they share nominalizer, okay, one who came, this is what it means. The other one, my father's. Okay. But they also share classifier or gender marking. Okay. The one masculine one who came is my son. My father's masculine thing, okay, like my son. And as we nominalizers differ, okay, for the verbal baselines are, for the so-called genitive, nominal baselines are, but they are of the same type of construction according to the classifier marking. Again, if these are two different constructions, why do they allow a classifier marking? That's what you have to answer. Okay, well, let's look at Vietnamese again. Okay, this you call something like a relative clause, historically. This you call genitive. Okay. If these are two different constructions, why do they allow classifier marking? That's what you have to answer. Because morphology tells you, tells you that these are two similar constructions. If they are two different constructions, why would they allow this kind of marking? Both are denoting something that are classifiable. These are both are nominal structures referring to things that can be classified. That means both are nominalization. You don't like it? You like it? Okay? They both denote things, metonymic to meaning. Okay, what I'm concerned with, what I'm related to very closely, like my house, my brother, my parents. Okay. And this one, what I like most, which can be classified. So the key here is that we are referring, both structures are referring to something that can be classified. So they are not structures. Okay. They also show similarity, not only in form, but in function. Okay. These can be used as an NP head, and they refer to the person who is standing there. Okay. And here too, that house is ours. We're referring to our thing here. Okay. They can be used as head of noun phrase, or they can be used as a modifier. Okay. This form, but not the. Okay. Here too, you can use them as a modifier. Okay. My house. Exactly the same thing. Again, these are not well formed for many speakers. But the point is that they share not only forms, but also function and the usage, okay, that determine this thing. But here the same. Okay. So in this case, we we are using this as the head of noun phrase, okay? And in this case, we are using it as a modifier, and that's all. So it's nothing like a Raleigh clause as an independent structure. Okay, this is the same structure, okay? And it is denoting a thing. That we know because we can classify what it denotes. Okay? And based on nominalization, same thing. Okay, pointing to this thing, I can say this is mine, or you can use it as a modifier. Okay, this is my book. Our discussion next will tell us looks at why classify is permitted here but not here. Okay. But there are differences between the two forms. Okay. N-based nominalization. Compare N-based nominalization and verbal-based nominalization. We see more diverse marking patterns permitted. Okay. More things occur here. Here, we said compared to the fourth one, that this fourth one is not well established. In these two new forms, they are not permitted in verbal-based nominalization. So nominalization marking occurs here too, sorry. These three are permitted, okay, and these two are questionable for many speakers. But if you look at the verbal form, only one is permitted. Okay. So we see greater diversity, possibility in LPUs here than the verbal-based nominalization. This is one of the ways. Okay? So nominalization marking is more prevalent, more widely distributed within N-based nominalization than the verbal-based nominalization. The same thing is obtained here. Okay, so this is one of the ways. And forms in NPUs can show a greater degree of diversity compared to these two things. Okay, so we have these are permitted. In this case, this is not permitted. This is not permitted either. And we see the same pattern in a smaller scale in this case. So we draw these two generalizations. And based nominalization is most permissible, okay, as far as the variation goes. More restricted if you look at the verbal-based nominalization. And if you look at the functions, then referring functions permit more, greater deal of possibility compared to the modification use. Okay. So these are generalizations we obtain, but we need some explanation why this is the case. Okay? So, but if we're looking at these things statically, in a synchronic perspective, we have no explanation why we see this kind of situation. So what we suggested is to look at these things from a diachronic perspective as well. And see that NPU's form of N-based nominalization is a starting point of innovation. Okay? And this innovation spread to modification use on the one hand, to the verbal-based nominalization on the other, and which may eventually is extended to modification use. So this is the diachronic perspective injected to the synchronic pattern. Okay? So we are saying N-based nominalization is more diverse in marking because that's the locus of innovation. And that innovation may not have spread to the modification context, may not have extended to verbal-based nominalization. So if we fit this thing here, we see NPUs is the first, okay, and modification use is an extension or spreading of this pattern. The first one, simple one, has extended 100%. This is almost there, but some people still resisting. Okay. And this one, a lot more people don't like this thing. In this case, it has succeeded. They both have succeeded to migrate to this N-based domain. From N-based nominalization to verbal-based nominalization, we see more diversity in marking because this is a locus of innovation, the innovation has not migrated to the verbal phase. So you see, N-based nominalization is more basic to nominalization. It shows a greater degree of possibility for marking. Verbal-based nominalization is secondary that receive marking from this input. So here we are looking at vertically we are looking at innovation. And then horizontally we're looking at the spreading of innovation to these domains, from this domain to this domain. So what Amamerukian has taught us are following. Okay, what has been analyzed as a genitive for this case or inflection particle is actually a nominal phase nominalization. This is one point. And in understanding the distribution of markers of grammatical nominalization, we must incorporate a diachronic perspective. Diversity patterns are the result of historical change. Okay? Some change has been completed, some changes are still ongoing. Okay? So nominal-based nominalization that are called genitive have been neglected in the study of grammatical nominalization, but they are very, very important. They are the starting point of marking. And we see exactly the same pattern in classifier marking across different languages and within the same language as well. See? So we'll see how the insights from Amamerukian can be extended to the cross-linguistic synchronic comparative study, okay, of nominalization. Okay, so our view is that distribution functions, genders, and classifiers results from diachronic development. Okay? The timing and the rate of change vary according to different dialects, different languages, and that's why we have staggered patterns of marking. Okay? As we will see. Okay? To see what I mean by this kind of development, you can compare Thai, Vietnamese, and Assamese as in this slide. So in Mandarin, they cannot say water pen to say this is mine. You cannot use classify here, but you can here. This is mine, right? So photo is like water. They cannot say pen here, but you can. Okay. But it's optional. You don't have to say. Right? I understand. But in Assamese, if we are referring to a specific, definite one, it is obligatory. Okay. Now, it's not possible to use this one either. In Vietnamese, this is possible, optionally, but impossible. In Assamese, it's optional. Yeah. So we see the cross-linguistic variation along the marking pattern here. Okay. What is impossible is now optional in Vietnamese, but now it's obligatory in Assamese. Okay. What is impossible in multiplication use, what is impossible in multiplication use is now optional, optionally permitted. And this is a result of historical change that we might explain here. Languages vary because Assamese is most progress, right? Within this construction, within subjective construction, Mandarin is way behind Assamese. Vietnamese is in between. You are beginning to permit this one. Okay. Not obligatory yet, not possible, but it's now optional. So we are explaining this kind of cross-linguistic gender marking pattern in terms of following developmental pattern. Okay? So some dialect languages have made an innovation here, others have not. This innovation is motivated by the hero of the economy. I don't have much time to say more about the hero of the economy and the speaker's economy today. But here you are inventing a new marker, innovating form so that the hearer would know this person is using this construction in NP use rather than modification use. Okay. According to the usage, you are changing the form by innovating the system. And the spread here, again, some dialect languages have spread the new marking pattern along the structural dimension from nominal base to verbal base nominal base. Some languages have not done this. And this spread is motivated by both speakers and hearers economy. So hearers economy drive toward form diversity according to different functions. Okay? So that the hearers will know what function these forms are being used. Speakers economy drive toward simplification. We want to use the same form for unified underlying conceptual category, okay, which might differ in form according to usage pattern. Okay. Here too, so some languages, dialect, spread the new marking along the functional dimension, others may not. That's how we see cross-linguistic difference. But you may wonder what gender cluster have to do with nominalization. Actually, a great deal. Okay, let's look at a simple case from Spanish, looking at the lexical noun-forming nominalization by genders. The verb root or stem here, assassin means to kill, to assassinate. If you want to derive an agent form, in English you do kill, killer, ER, right? The one that we looked at. If you're speaking Spanish, you have to say either asesino or asesina to be killed. This is a derivation, right? You're deriving nouns from the verb stem or root. Killer can refer to either female killer or masculine male killer. So it's a non-classifying nominal line. Okay. Or gender markers here, or and are a classifying nominal line. Look here, gender marking is a nominalization. Any objection to that? Non-classifying nominal line, classifying nominal line. They also derive many words from masculine. This is European pattern typically. Masculine forms first, and then you derive feminine forms. It's a nominal derivation based on nominal. Now there are grammatical counterparts, like sentado en la silla, which means one sitting in the chair, masculine person sitting in the chair. Okay, is my part. You use feminine, you're talking about the feminine person sitting in the chair. You're denoting these people that are classified according to gender. Okay? This is similar to asesino, and this is similar to asesino. And these are grammatical nominalizations by gender. Corresponding to this, English has lost gender marking, and therefore sitting in the chair can denote both masculine and feminine. This means a person sitting in the chair is my old man, my father, or my mother. And this is a grammatical nominalization. Sitting in the chair is not a noun. Where I read it in one sitting, this is a noun. So we have lexical nominalization, grammatical nominalization in terms of ing, nd, so-called participles. These are non-classifying nominalization, these are classifying nominalization. What about classifier? Yes, they also derive lexical noun. So the verb is a mon, sai, I don't, so sai, you use an animal or animate classifier, then you derive a verb noun. Okay. But you can also use inanimate, use classifier, derive a new word. Okay? And the grammatical counterpart here too. So you can mark this one with a tu or dai, okay, for flat thing. And you also see n-based nominalization here. Who flat, my animate thing like a cat, my flat thing like a squirrel. you see exactly the same pattern in your language, so you can derive these things from both nouns as well as from, verbs, as well as nouns. Okay? And these are the counterparts, grammatical counterparts. Okay. I like this, maybe I'm talking about a cat, and the one who is crying, referring to the child, like this one. Okay. So these are lexical nominalization, these are verbal-based grammatical nominalization. Oh, sorry, not this one, not this is nominal-based grammatical nominalization, it's verbal-based grammatical nominalization. But despite this fact, people have been missing very, very important things like this, and have been treating gender and classifier as two separate phenomena. I've just showed you that this is both classifier and gender nominal. Okay. The function is nominalization. It's a unified phenomenon, but traditionally classifiers are thought to operate on head nouns. Okay. Classifying can be as something elongate thing, in terms of G. In the case of gender, it has been treated as an agreement phenomenon, whereby a controller head determines the form of a modifier. As if these are two entirely different phenomena. Despite the fact that both of them are classificatory system, one thing, and they both show agreement or concord, right? So you cannot have feminine modifier with a masculine head. You cannot have G with things like book, for example. Sorry, I don't have this one here. Ben, for example, cannot be used with Gen B. You have to use things like a shoe, right? Yeah. So you have agreement here, like this. And also, both classifier and genders have similar distribution and similar functions. Okay? They mark numeral, they mark demonstrative, generative. Okay, these are type forms, and they have NPUs. I'm just talking about four animate things. Okay. For dogs, modification use, restricting function, not any kind of dog, but the one that come in numeral. Quantity of 4. Demonstrative can be optionally marked. So for genitive, we also already saw the Vietnamese example. And they can also mark adjectives, sometimes obligatorily, optionally in modification. Can even mark verbal-based nominalization that we saw earlier. And gender is exactly the same. It marks numeral, here is masculine. Okay, how many cards do you see? Okay, or taho. This is the modification use. Uma, feminine form, feminine modifier. SG, I want this. Okay, which is the card? Sorry, this or this card, SG taho, or esta taho. The same thing for genitives can be masculine or feminine. They have both NPUs. Modification use exactly the same form. And adjectives, blanco or blanco the white, masculine modifier use, feminine form modifier use, and more complex one that we saw already in Spanish. Now the current analysis treatment divide this gender marking phenomena into two different systems. So they would have to say these are lexical derivations. But these are agreement. So they are dividing this gender marking into two separate phenomena. Okay. Moreover, they also have this kind of expression where there is no head, where there is no agreement. In order to let this go through, they have to do something like auditing head now and then agreeing and then deleting. But there's no evidence for that. And there's undesirable consequences of that kind of analysis that we see. The same thing, okay, look at the classifier language as well. They can be treated as the derivation here, but in this case, many people treat them as agreement. This is duck with this modifier is agreeing with the duck, and this so-called red cloth is agreeing with the head now. Okay. So two separate phenomena. Amazonian languages have similar problems. A lot of derivation, okay, and also maybe inflectional kind of thing. Okay. Now, another problem, methodological problem, is that people have been analyzing these things mostly on the basis of this modification pattern. Okay. They have not paid much attention to the NP form. Okay. And these are treated as a secondary expression derived from the. Right? According to the late Professor Greenberg, it is universal that all languages with numeral classifier can have this construction by deleting the head noun. This is what he's saying. And that's the wrong perspective on this one. They are starting out from this one and then deriving these things by deleting the head. So many people say, okay, what does gender do? Okay, it categorizes the reference of the head noun. Numeral classifier doing the same thing. This is a genitive-based one for this noun, and locative, the active one that we're looking at, the demonstrative one, also saying this one. Okay. But there are both gender and classifier mark forms that range over numerals to verbal-based nominalization that cannot modify a head noun. You have this case. Okay. NPUs is permitted, okay, but not this one. If you have a situation like this kind of characterization has a problem, right? Because you cannot use the when there is a head. And your language tells us that. I want this apple. Okay, you can say quite right. But you cannot say this one. Dao quite right. So this is problematic. See what Vietnamese can tell you. The rest of the world. Look, this kind of analysis is wrong. You cannot have classifier when you are supposed to be classifying head noun. You can have classifier when there is no head. You cannot derive this one from this construction because this construction is not permitted. You cannot derive this one from deleting the head because this one is not possible to begin with. So you cannot start your analysis on the right hand side and then go to the left. So this is what we actually see. Okay, all kinds of possibilities. Okay, so some languages, English has lost it and it has not developed the gender yet. Okay, so no, optional, yes, no, optional, and so on and so forth. We see all these possibilities with numerals, plus. So the past analysis or studies have not looked at this kind of pattern, diverse pattern. They have missed this one. But this is very important, right? Because this is where classifier numeral marking is more prevalent. There's only one no here. In the modification use that you have been looking at, there are lots of no's. Right? So this is the wrong perspective. People have been studying from this one based on these languages and trying to analyze this one. But such a perspective does not work for these types. Okay? No optional, no yes. And optional, this is problematic too. And as we said, okay, the primacy of gender plus marking occurs in this domain, in this functional domain, not in the modification domain. So as long as you are looking at the modification use only, you miss a very important generalization. So we already saw the Vietnamese. Okay, sorry. So we just go very quickly. Okay. This one is a numeral classifier. Gender marking. One came, that's fine. Okay. And feminine came, dog came. But you cannot use this as a modifier. In Vietnamese, you can use classifier in both. Right? But not in. This is also bad. You only use opta. Okay. Professor Pradesh will be talking more about these things in the next presentation. Again, there's no logical reason that these gender marking cannot be used in modification construction because other languages have developed this usage later on. This is what I'm saying. Okay. Telugu has not extended this one to the modification context. Kannada and Nepali have extended. So this is a historical result. Okay. Kannada and Nepali are one step ahead of these languages. Demonstratives show the same thing, so let's skip. Okay, gender marking. Let's look at the classifier marking too. So again, Professor Pradesh will tell you more about this thing, but you have classifier in NPUs, but not in modifications. Classifier plus gender possible in NPUs, okay, but not in modification use. We already saw this one. I like this. It's possible, but not thumbnail online. That's not possible. The other we have classifier permitted in NPUs, but not in modification use. Okay? There are lots of similar cases in South America as well, among Amazonian languages. I'm going to send this slide to Professor Chan. Can I do that? If you're interested in studying this more at your leisure, please ask Professor Chan, okay, for a copy of this one. Okay? Would that be okay? So we'll skip the data and just go on and try to wrap up our talk. These are all examples from South America. We are now discovering lots of South American languages also have classifiers. Classifiers have been champion of South Asian languages, Southeast Asian languages, but that was mainland China, but actually they are also widely used in South America among Amazonian languages. So the dynamic function that I'm advocating would look at this as a result of historical change. First, the starting point has to here, not here. And see, okay, let's know which one has innovated. We have optional innovation here, not yet, it has not reached the dysfunctional domain. This one has been made optional, and we get this pattern as in Jimbo. And in this case, optional one is made, from optional one is made obligatory, not here, and making this optional, and yes eventually. And this is how we use these things. Okay? So all these cross-linguistic patterns represent the developmental stages of the classifier gender marking. So if you look at it from a historical perspective, it makes a lot of sense. Okay? So, for example, this one, innovated this one, okay, and made this optional here, and optional here is made obligatory here, and this option is made obligatory. So we are assuming that all these languages have gone through these stages. Okay? If we went back in history, if we looked at the dialects, we might see many of these languages showing this kind of pattern as well. So these are innovations, and it is spreading, just as in the case of the Amami dialect that we looked at earlier. It's innovation. This innovation has spread to the modification domain. So we're seeing exactly the same pattern of development that we saw in Amami Ryukyu, but cross-linguistic situation, in cross-linguistic situation. So we see the same sort of pattern of development. Within a single language, cross-linguistic. So the basic function of the classifier gender, finally, okay, what are they doing? We already said they are nominalizers. Okay, they are nominalization. So we must analyze this first. Okay? And some language has developed its use to this domain, some language has not. And this is what is happening. This is what we see. So these are the results of the expansion or spreading of the marking that starts in this NPU's domain. Okay? So this development, if you arrest this development, you are still favoring the hierarchy economy. Okay? If you're using this numeral as NPU's form, you must use the Giống classifier. In different function, you don't use it. Different function, different form. Nepali has achieved speaker economy. Same form, because they are same thing. So basically, this is the only difference between these two languages. Okay? Same pattern with gender, right? So here it has not spread in this respect. It has different form, same form. So here too, we must start here. Our answer has to start here. So, basic function, okay? Classifier do not classify the reference of the head noun because classifier cannot be used with the head. Okay? So this is totally incorrect. If you look at this thing, instead they operate on numerals, and that's why they co-operate with the numeral. They form units with the numeral, not with the head noun. If they're working with the head noun, if you're operating with head noun, we expect the classifier to go with the head noun. But classifiers everywhere, they go with the numeral, as in your language. So this is really operating on numeral. So this again is nominalizing the numeral dom, which is a noun itself, and deriving an n-based nominalization that denotes single entity embodying the concept of the quantity 2, and that fall in the human category, such as 2 boys, 2 men, 2 teachers, 2 male teachers, and all that. This is what it is. It is nominalized. Okay. I'll give you a little more concrete. Now, gender marking is the same thing here. Okay. Contrary to this kind of a view, this cannot be determined by the head noun because I cannot take a head noun. Head noun cannot be determining the form of its modifier. It's operating on this one. Again, it's nominalizing a numeral 1, okay, deriving n-based nominalization, denoting one thing that falls in the feminine category. It's classifying what the new form denotes, one thing, feminine or masculine. So the same analysis holds for gender thing. So we're doing this, qua is operating on bar, okay? And this is simply an empty use of this form, okay? And we have to start here and then go on to modification use because we cannot start out here and then go to this. So start out here, and one is, in the case of numeral classifier, it has extended to the modification context. In the case of demonstrative, it has not extended to this. Oh, I'm distinguishing the article use of classifiers from this kind of derivation. Okay. This one simply signal
cái thằng này có
what
gì để
follows in an apple fruit class entity. It is not nominalizing tau. Tau. Just as mansa is not nominalizing. Tau and mansa are already classified in your family. And this just signals that what follows is like is an upper class entity. Just as a definite article that informs you that what follows is something that you know, that you can identify. Article are indicating what follows is something that you may not know. Okay. So what does it really mean to say that a classifier nominalizes a numeral? So more presume I mean quantity like this, okay, and bar maybe 3 times bigger. Okay, ignore the cloud concept. It's quantity concept, right? And these are nouns, and they can have a noun break. And if you say this one, you are using this as a numeral, okay, denoting the quantity.
hay kìa.
Okay. So nominalization by classifier means something like this. You are deriving a new nominal structure, okay, with a new concept because you are using this one. This is a new structure based on this one, okay? And this is a nominalization structure. And then you have a new denotation, such as fruit or this kind of quantity. And this is what you're doing when you nominalize a numeral. This is a new structure with a new denotation. Okay? This is just a quantity concept as long as you have the basic numeral and noun that can be used here. So there's a new structure with a new concept. And this is what nominalization is about. So if I say something like I'm just referring to these things, not the quantity, but things that embody this notion of quantity. 3. Okay. Side 3. So what does the modification restricting function by nominalization structure mean? So I want apple can be something like this, etc. Much more ideas, concepts associated with tau. But if I say I want with a three fruit, we're talking about these things, etc. Again, there are many other different things. So what modification used mean is like this one. The head noun denotes this one, okay? And modifier denotes this one. And we have this intersection of the two denotations where this one is identified. So you are setting a subset of the denotation of the head noun. I'm not talking about 2 apples, I'm not talking about 1 apple or 5 apples, but the one that comes in the quantity of 3. Okay? That's what is modification all about. So that means this one is simultaneously apple and 3 fruits. So that's the meaning of Tao. Okay? So Tao denotes things that are apple and also that come in the quantity of 3 and fruits. Okay, so in the so-called relative quality, we have the same sort of situation. If I have this one, I can denote any of these things, and etc. Other things as well, right? The one that I like most is that one. I might be talking about the umbrella or the sparrow or I don't know, apple. You can derive a new nominal structure by using a classifier. Okay, new form, new denotation. I cannot refer to these things by using check. Okay? If I use form, I have to be denoting this thing, referring to this thing. New structure, new denotation for this kind. New structure, new denotation. And this is what nominalization. This is what classifiers do. Notice you have to study these things independently, independently from the modification construction, because you cannot use classifiers in the modification construction, right? So you must study these things on their own right, not in terms of so-called relative flow construction that cannot host any of the classifiers. Okay. So the way we interpret this thing is this. So it depends entirely on the context. If we are talking about cups, for example, and if somebody says bad guy, we are talking, of course, understand that this one is intending cups. Okay? But if we have this kind of context, and if I say use the same form, bad guy, the same form, but can be denoting different things. It all entirely depends on the context. Gender is the same. Okay? Which is your car? Masculine car. Okay? And which is your hat? The white one. The same form, o blanco, but depending on the context, this is likely to be denoting hat and so forth. Okay? Some people say these are the function, anaphoric use of gender and classifier form. So they would say that they don't have their own denotation references, and they are determined by the antecedent in the context, in this case like this one. Okay. So this is another approach, another approach to these NPUC, okay, of classifying. But this idea doesn't go through because there are contexts in which you can use classifier form without any antecedent. Okay? And in the case of gender, sorry about Japanese thing. We're talking about classifier here. In Japanese. Sorry. Okay, so new deadline. Without any antecedent, you can use the feminine. And likely you interpret this to be human. Same thing with the classifier. And Marathi and Nepali, you can start conversation with like this one. One male person came on the bike yesterday without any antecedent. That cannot be anaphoric use. Anaphoric use means referring back to some entity. Right? There's no antecedent here. In narratives as well, there's no antecedent for this one. Okay, you can look at this one very carefully if you like. It's a long case. Again, we're looking just looking for one animate thing, one person actually, without any antecedent. Japanese example. Okay, so if we analyze these things as nominalization, we gain the following analysis. Okay? We can unify these things as lexical and grammatical nominalization. They are not two separate phenomena. They are nominalization phenomena. Okay? So the only difference is that these are lexical. They produce nouns. These produce grammatical structure, but they are nominal. They denote something. Classifier same, right? So this is simply lexical nominalization. These are not inflection, but they are grammatical nominalization. Okay, we can unify these two things. And we see alternation between nominalize and classifier in nominalization process. If you use simple nominalization, it's not classifying, so we can refer to all these things by the ones that die. If you use a classifier, that in this case, the only difference is that they classify these things. Okay? So if you use all, you are talking about these things. If you use all, you're talking about these things. So what we have is a non-classified nominalization here. We have exactly the same phenomenon, except these are classified. Nominalization plus classification. Okay? Simply nominalization. Nominalization plus classification. Vietnamese general classified I is similar to nominalization to a lot of extent because you can refer to all kinds of things. If you use specific classifier, you can only use subclasses of general things. Right? Similar. So these things have more restricted annotation, okay, as opposed to this one. So the first one is similar to this one to a great extent. You have a computer with general one like com, so it's not exactly like this one, but this is more general denotation. These have specific denotation. Same sort of situation seen in other languages. Now many languages develop nominalizers from classifiers, okay, as in this case. So we have animate nominalizer developing from animate classifier ma, and inanimate classifier gu with the long vowel, nominalizer short vowel. Okay? So there's a close connection here between classifier and the other one, nominalizer. Now I know has a human, non-human classifier used with the numeral, but with other form, they are just non-classifying nominalization. But this general nominalization developed out of non-human classifier. Okay, so if you use this with numeral, this is still classifying. If you use peg with vowel-based one, then it is a general nominalization. Okay, like this. Similar pattern you see in Zhaozhou and some other southern Min dialects, for example, where kai that correspond to ga in Mandarin developed into non-classifying nominalizer. Okay, these are still classifying. Okay, you can use these for a book and pencil, and person and apple. Okay, and you cannot use these things in Mandarin for genitive and adjective and verbal-based one. And these are non-classifying nominalizations, so they can refer to all of these. And here, these are classifying with numeral, but starting with the genitive, it's a non-classifying nominalization. So nominalization, classifier developed into nominalization. Now actually, ordinary nominalizations are also classifying to some extent. So we have this contrast, who they want to marry versus which you like. Animate, inanimate. Okay? Animate, denotation, inanimate. Via Morgan com, animate versus Morgan com, inanimate. So these languages also classify to some extent. Okay? Not as widely as. So this is a summary of what we have here. So the essential difference between grammatical gender and classifier is that grammatical gender is concerned with more immediate human interest. Okay? Whether this object is animate or inanimate, whether this object is male or female, very important information for us. Whereas, because of this immediate human interest, they tend to be integrated into grammar or grammatical life, if you like, much quicker. Classifier, on the other hand, a more general system that embrace all kinds of things like baskets and scissors and knives. And therefore, they develop at a slower pace in grammar. Okay? And their developmental patterns seem to follow this hierarchy. That is, numeral, the first one to be susceptible to classification, okay? And demonstrative, and so on. When we're looking at the cross-linguistic studies, actually we're looking at both language internal variation as well as cross-linguistic variation. Okay? So internal variation is like this one. So in time, for example, with numeral, classifiers are obligatory, but with demonstrative, classifier marking is optional. This kind of variation, okay, is observed widely in your languages as well. Okay. Like this one. And cross-linguistically, we also saw these patterns of differences. No, optional, no, yes, obligatory, optional. Okay. But these variations are constrained by this hierarchy that we are proposing. Okay? So there are two dimensions here. The structural dimension, whether you're talking about numeral, demonstrative, and so forth, and they developed along this one. Okay. Languages develop classifier gender marking on verbal-based nominalization later than this did. And in the functional domain, modification context shows lesser development than in use. So we expect to find cross-dialectal, cross-language differences along these two dimensions. Okay? And presentations by Professor Tadeusz Schmidt will demonstrate in a more greater depth. Okay, thank you very much.